Welcome to video 2. Thank you for everyone that's got in touch. People have asked, hey, how do I join? How do I become an owner? And things like that. So lots of exciting stuff will be in next video, which will be after our public meeting on Wednesday, the 10th of January. And that's where we'll be able to lay out how you become owners of the East Thurrock Community Football Club, which is 100% fan-run club. And then sort of all the parts that go into that. So I'll touch on some other stuff before I talk about what's next and what you can expect in videos 3, and lots of other bits there. So sort of one of the early things when you're setting up a club is what league do you go and join in? Because it's kind of the chicken and the egg. It's like, what are we looking for in terms of budget players, where to play? Also, there's no point having all that and then suddenly you're not in a league. So it was a really difficult one, this of sort of bouncing back and looking. And we thought a great place to start is let's just speak to the leagues. There's no point leaving that to the last minute. Speak to them really early. So it was almost around the first meeting we had of a working group committee of just reach out to leagues and say, hey, we're interested in coming back as a club. And it helped that there was some name brand. People knew instantly. It was like, hey, East Thurrock, yeah, we went into liquidation. We're back, new fan run club. How do we join? So when your initial club folds, if you're taking that club back on as a legal entity, you automatically drop at least 2 leagues. We're not that same legal entity. We haven't bought that. We don't own East Thurrock United as a fan run club. We're an entirely new entity. So that's not even an option. So it'd have been dropping 2 leagues anyway. We're in a position where we're something completely new. So first up, we're thinking, hey, can we go in at what you call the Thurlow None, which is the 10th tier of English football? We were in the 8th when we folded. So we reached out to that league and said, hey, well, what's the process? We don't get how this works. Obviously, we're dropping down. Is it one where there's an extra space and you're just looking for where we fall? Or is that all the leagues, everyone pushes up an extra team of promotion or something like that? So we reached out and we spoke to them and they said, look, it's very unlikely. We don't often do it. There is certainly the possible route to do it of applying to the Thurlow None and getting in, but it's not one that is probably very likely. They prefer to, and as is right, support meritocracy, start from the bottom and work your way up. So they said reach out to the Essex Olympian League, which is where we plan to apply to go in now. And it's down to that league and the league committee to vote on where we land. And there's obviously going to be a balance in that. If you're coming in with, hey, there's big plans, there's this, we want to go forward, they don't want to stick you in like their 4th tier of their league. So they seem like a really great bunch. Looking forward to getting that. And we will get that full application together. You've got until the middle of March, but we want to get that in much earlier. So once the public meeting's done, and once we know where we're playing, everything like that, it'll help. And there is a massive difference between that 11th tier where the Essex Olympian is and the 10th tier of English football where the Eastern Counties, Thurlow None, whatever it is. The requirements are drastic. So if we're going to be honest, the Essex Olympian League, it's some sort of rope or barrier around a pitch. It's your really basic stuff. You've got to have some dressing rooms, etc. Once you get into that 10th tier, suddenly that's the big FA requirements of you've got to have floodlights, you've got to have a clubhouse, you've got to have boundaries, you've got to have stands for standing and stands for seating. And when I say boundaries, that's boundaries around the entire sort of playing facilities. But there's lots and lots of requirements. So a dramatic shift. And if you're a new ground going in, so not something that's previously registered, sort of ticked along, there is a much higher standard you're expected to meet. So that's going to be a challenge as well when people go, hey, there's not a ground there. Could we go there? Could we register that piece of land as a ground? Well, suddenly what's expected of you is so much more. So that's going to involve a challenge there. And in terms of sort of process, where to pick that, the only thing we decided early on is we want to be in Stamford or Corringham, which is where we're playing. You could go further afield and you could find those facilities, but they're going to cost money. So it's one where no decision's been made. We're doing our due diligence on everywhere. So if there's a playing facility with a legal size pitch in Stamford or Corringham, we're looking at it. And we need that ready by March. This isn't one where we need it ready for June, July for the season. We need it ready for March because the league will not let you in unless you can prove you've got it then. And that's something to keep in mind with promotions and stuff further down the line. You don't win promotion and then you can prove, hey, we'll go find somewhere to play next year that meets the requirements for floodlights, stuff like that. You've got to have that in place in March just to be ready for the promotion. So important stuff to keep an eye on as we go down the line. And where we play is going to be a fan vote. That's part of the joy of being a fan-owned club. We'll do the due diligence, pull the list together and go, hey, here's the pros and cons of all different decisions. Now we'll vote as ownership. Where do we want to play? So that's the process we're going to go through. So keep an eye out. We've got the public meeting initially. I'll speak more on the end of like what that process is after that there. So that's stadium requirements. That's what league we join. Got the public meeting on Wednesday. And that's effectively going to be, if you've been following along on social media, every Friday we do a social media post, which is all just giving another piece of information of what we've learned, what we've discovered, why certain things are going different ways. But it's just keeping you updated on the journey. So follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and on all them. I think we just set up TikTok. Not that we're using it yet, but that's one that's on the way. And obviously we've added YouTube now, which will be coming out with a video every Monday. But there'll be other social media posts through the week for any time we have committee meetings, things like that. We want to keep you updated because we understand there's people around the world. I've had several people in America reach out and said, hey, I want to become an owner. You will have the chance to be an owner. No one needs to live or turn up just to support this club. This is a club for everyone. So if you're interested in getting involved in being part of a football club, don't worry about where you live in the world. You're entitled as much as someone like me to get involved. So once we have the public meeting, that's laying out the entire business plan, going into more detail than we've done in these weekly social media posts every Friday, and sort of answering all of your questions. So we'll go through all that. Then the day after the public meeting, probably about 10:30 in the morning, we'll release the full business plan online. So that's allowing everyone to look at what we've got planned. It's going to be an 8-year plan because we want to talk about where we want to land, which is back in the Ishmael North in 8 years' time. That's our goal. Obviously, it's not one where every aspect of detail 5-6 years down the line is in there, but the aspiration is a promotion every 2 years, which we think is certainly achievable. But it's about having the ground, the facilities to allow us to go through that and the promotion. The more fans we get, the more budget there is for players, the better the players, the quicker we go up. So it's one that we're relying on your support if we're going to get where we want to get. And yeah, my dream, why not push beyond that Ishmael North? But let's get there in 8 years' time. And then we can talk about how do we get into the National League South, back to where we were, the real glory days of East Thurrock. A pure joy to follow them at that level. So yeah, that would be the full dream if we went all the way along the journey. But alongside the business plan, which we'll launch on Friday, we're going to launch a series of videos which will cover sort of fan ownership, community benefit society, sort of how that all works. So that'll be one video. Going to do another video which is all around the committee structure, the democracy. How are you involved as a fan owner? What say do you get? What do you get? What does it cost to become a fan owner? We're going to have different payment methods of sort of everything from a monthly to a annual, and then there's a lifetime one. So if you want to sort of fully buy in, it's just a different range of options for different people. And then one on where do we play, which league, the process for deciding all that will be covered in a separate video. And then one on manager, players, youth teams, all that sort of stuff. So it's been some social media posts. Applications aren't open yet. Had lots of people emailing about becoming a manager, which is great to see. But that's one, once you're into the league, that's all then approved. That'll be the sort of time where we'll start looking at managers, and manager will then bring the players. But that's kind of just the timeline for where we're at. So by all means, as always, if there's any questions, jump in the comments section, shoot an email to eastthurrockcfc@gmail.com. We've got a website launching since our last video, but it's all there. Reach out. Don't be shy. If you've got questions, if you want to be involved, key thing that's going to be, we're going to need lots of people involved. Whether that's a big part or you just say, hey, actually, I want to be involved in assisting with applying for loads of grant funding. That is a really important role. You don't have to turn up to loads of committees. You don't have to do loads of stuff. You can do it in your own time. But it's essential to have someone that takes responsibility for that, because if there's 4 or 5 people trying to carry this, not going to succeed. If we start getting into 20 odd people, each knowing what their particular role is, we can have a really successful club that we can talk about that 8-year promotion plan and go, we want to go beyond that. We want to be as big as possible. And there's no reason we can't build something that's democratic, transparent, and sustainable. Those are our 3 key things, alongside being 100% fan owned. But thank you very much for watching. If you can, please get there on Wednesday for the public meeting. It's at the Newt Courthouse in Stamford-le-Hope at 7:30. If you can't make the meeting, keep an eye out on social media for the following day, because we'll make sure we put that out. But like, subscribe, follow along, and I'll be back end of the week talking about how you can become an owner of East Thurrock Community Football Club. Up the Rocks.